Hi, I'm Rachel Lankester, and this is the Magnificent Midlife Podcast. This is where we celebrate women in midlife and beyond. We challenge the status quo and bash those negative stereotypes about being an older woman. We're not over the hill at 40, 50, 60. We're just getting started. And the world needs us now more than ever. I'll be talking all things midlife, about issues that matter, and sharing fabulous stories of amazing women doing very cool stuff. Now's our time. Hello, my guest today is myself. It's another solo episode from yours truly. I wasn't really sure what to talk to you about today because there's been so much still going on and it's just still so crazy. And every time I do one of these, 3 months have passed between my solo episodes and we're still in such a mess. And the world seems to be getting into even more of a mess. And there was one bright light last week when Jacinda Ardern was re-elected with a landslide victory in New Zealand. And I thought, oh my goodness, at least one part of the world is in safe female hands. And I thought, thank goodness. And she made the point that, it hadn't been an aggressive, argumentative election, and she wanted to work for everybody and involve everybody in her government going forward. And I just thought, wonderful. One of the episodes that I've done this season, a couple of episodes ago, was with the very wonderful Dr. Joanna Martin, who is the founder of One of Many. And she talks about women and leadership and the importance of growing grassroots women leadership and giving women the tools to be able to lead as women so that we're not leading by trying to be men, or we're not leading by burning ourselves out, because that is what we so often do, and that is what I did. I've talked on various podcasts, but I'm convinced that my early menopause at 41 came about because I was exhausted. I was juggling all the balls, I was trying to do everything. And I didn't know at that stage the importance of just taking time to take care of myself. And I think that COVID has really made it clear that we are all so depleted and we're all running on empty, and probably the very best thing we can be doing now, because it's not going away anytime soon. I think we all know that now. We have to make the very best life that we can make, given the circumstances that we find ourselves in. But we can replenish ourselves to the extent that we possibly can. And if we don't, we're going to get into trouble. So, first tip, find out what you need to do to look after yourself, and then make sure that you do it. Because otherwise, we're just going to burn out so quickly. I think we're all dealing with so much angst and upset, and it's just really, really hard, isn't it? Really, really hard. I had another great thing happen to me last week. My son came home. He hasn't been here since August last year. I was lucky enough to see him in New York in November last year, but it was only for 3 days. So it was almost a year since I've seen him in real life. And as always, I'm very, very grateful for the technology which enables me to see him wherever he is in the world. But my goodness, it's good to have him home. But it's also hard because we've been having some tricky conversations. If you listen to this podcast regularly, you'll know my son is mixed race. So he's half Chinese and half white. I've talked as well on some of my, Black Lives Matter podcasts about how I read a book called Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. And there was one chapter in that book that talked specifically about the white mothers of mixed race children. And it was really, really hard for me to read that chapter. And my son has come back. He's a man. He's not a boy anymore. He's such a man. And he's reassessing lots of things from his childhood, which perhaps in the past he they might have hurt him, but he didn't really analyse what was going on, and he is analysing that now, and he's questioning me. He's really questioning the white middle-class, middle-aged lens through which I see the world. And it's hard. It's hard because, this mirror is being held up to me, and I need to see myself in that mirror. And it's not always a self I like. And many of the things that I have assumed in the past or just gone along with in the past, I can now see that I can't do that anymore. I mean, I call out ageism wherever I see it. And now I have to be absolutely on the ball to call out racism whenever I see it. But being called out by my son is hard. Yeah, it's tough. But those are uncomfortable conversations that I think all white people need to be having. And I need to take that on board and see what I can do and be willing to be open to difficult conversations. But that's about growth, isn't it? That's how we grow. And when we stop growing, what's the point? What's the point? I want to grow. And sometimes growing is hard and it's difficult. It's like giving birth or going through menopause, isn't it? These experiences may be difficult, but hopefully when we get through them, if we can embrace them, if we can stay open to them, and if we can listen to the messages that we're being told, whether that be my son or my body telling me to relax or whatever it might be, but if we can stay curious and not just make assumptions and judgments. Anyway, so that's what I've been pondering on. But anyway, it's lovely to have him home. It's so wonderful. And of course, we're on tenterhooks because at time of recording this, next week there will be an election in America. And I just hope, I'm not a praying type, but if I was, I'd be praying for a change in the government in America. I just sit here in England. I used to live in America, so I feel very attached to it, and I have lots of quite liberal friends in America. And I can't bear to see what has happened to that country and what continues to happen to it. And the way COVID is just going crazy in America is just one example of it. But today I watched a video that had been shared by another of my podcast guests this season, Angela Raspas, who in fact kicked off the latest season talking about how to create your next chapter. So that's a really great one to go and listen to. Very inspiring about how we can really reinvent ourselves, even starting a new business, starting a side hustle or whatever it might be, but something to make us really excited in our next chapter. But she shared this video, which I hadn't seen before, and it's been created by Black Eyed Peas and Jennifer Hudson, and they sing over a speech by Joe Biden. And it's really powerful. It's really, really powerful. And it ends with the quote by Dr. Cornel West at Princeton University. And he says, "Justice is what love looks like in public," which I think is just so powerful. But this video, I'll share it in the show notes, but it is just so powerful. And it basically, it's a reworking of the Black Eyed Peas song, "Where is the Love?" And it really pinpoints the fact that there is so much hatred, not just in the world, but particularly in America. And that Trump has been building this divisiveness and building the tension and the trauma and the anger, and that the time has come when we absolutely have to turn away from that. We have to turn away from hatred and towards love. So, yeah, go and watch that. It really stopped me in my tracks this morning when I watched that video, and I just thought, oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely. Where is the love? And we need more of it. And we need more women to bring more love. And then moving on to COVID, again, how do we cope and how do we celebrate? There's a lot of celebrations coming up soon, aren't there? I'm going to miss Halloween next week. I love Halloween from my time spent in the States. And then bonfire night and Diwali and Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the other festivals that I can't remember. And how are we going to celebrate? Because we can't get together. It's really difficult, isn't it? But I think all we can do is just make the best of every situation and take each moment as we find it, because we can't do anything else. All we can do is control what we can control and basically forget the rest, because it's just not going to work, is it? There's nothing we can do. And how do we move forward? I just think we need to be creative about how we live our lives in this new COVID world. It's really hard because a couple of weekends ago, I really wanted to go and see my mum, and she'd gone into tier 2 lockdown, and I currently, at that time, wasn't in tier 2. And I thought, can I bend the rules? Can I fudge it? Can I just go and see her? Because, you know, I can be her bubble. She hasn't seen my brother, who is in her bubble, for 2 weeks, so I could go and be her bubble. And then a friend of hers said, but you can't change your bubble. And I thought, no, I suppose she can't. So then I can't go and see her. And in fact, my husband said, no, we probably better not go and see her. And my mum said, you probably better not come and see me. But then we looked online, and if I was her cleaner, I could go and see her. So what's that all about? Bit annoying. So not quite sure what I'm going to do about that. Maybe I'll sneak up there sometime and just wave at her through the window again. But it seems so bonkers. And I live a very socially isolated life anyway. And of course, my son has been doing his quarantine since he arrived home. So it's a very closed-in life. But that is life now, isn't it? That's the way it has to be and what we have to do. So those are some of the things I've been pondering on since the last time I did a solo episode, and I hope that life is going well for you. I hope you're not feeling too overwhelmed with everything. It is hard, isn't it? It is hard to stay focused on things. But if you possibly can, I said this last time round, think about who you want to be. Take this time, because hopefully we'll never get this time again. But we do have some time to connect with those who are important to us. Spend time with our immediate loved ones. Talk to people online. We have so many tools to allow us to do that. And just take each day as it comes, I think. Live in the moment. And that's where the secret of happiness is, isn't it? We're all told that mindfulness is in the moment and happiness is in the moment, rather than looking back or looking forward. But I do think it's worthwhile taking some time to think, who do you want to be in your next chapter? Where do you want to go? And if you want to come and explore that with me, then check out my one-to-one mentoring, or check out the members club that we have, where there's lots of workshops and resources, but also fortnightly coaching calls with me. Yeah, just come and check it out. See what you think. Here's to hoping that we get or got some good news at the beginning of November. And if not, I'm not quite sure where you'll find me. You might find me in a little bunker somewhere holding my head, because the combination of COVID and 4 more years of Trump is going to be seriously challenging. I think I will need you all to come and pull me out of my little pit of despair. But thinking on the bright side, let's keep our fingers crossed and make sure that you take really good care of yourself, because that's really important, just to be able to keep going. Celebrate what you can, control what you can, and try not to worry too much about the rest. Stay in the moment. We're all in the same boat, aren't we? So we'll get there. We'll get there together. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Magnificent Midlife Podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, share it, and leave me a review wherever you're listening. It really helps me get the message out. You can find out more information about this episode in the show notes at magnificentmidlife.com. That's also where you'll find strategies, support, and resources to help make your midlife magnificent. Get clarity on how to make the most of your next chapter. Help me change the world, one magnificent midlife woman at a time.